With this, I pass to Mr. Druadas.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. We are reading the book Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Chapter 1. In Chapter 1, the author introduces us to a bit of quantum physics. Though I don't know anything about physics, but he has tried to explain. I will just read out that. He says that it is important for us to embrace the concept of quantum physics because it has an effect in the world, in our objective world. The quantum physics states that where you direct your attention is where your place of energy is. That is, in other words, we say that wherever your attention is, your focus, wherever you focus, your attention goes. So, as a consequence, you affect the material world. If you entertain that idea, even for a moment, you might start focusing on what you want instead of what you don't want. And then he says in the introduction itself, and that even when you find yourself thinking, if an atom is 99.99999% energy and 0.00001% physical substance, then actually more nothing than something. So why do we keep our attention on that small percentage of physical world when we are so much more? This is what is defining to prevent reality by what I perceive with my senses, the biggest limitation I have. So he says that early physicists divided the world into matter and thought, and later matter and energy. Each member of those pairs was considered to be entirely separate from the other, but they are not. Nevertheless, this mind-matter duality shaped our early worldview, that reality was essentially predetermined and that people could do little to change things through their own actions, let alone their thoughts. Just as today's scientists are exploring the relationship between thought and matter, we are eager to do the same in our own lives. And so we ask ourselves, can I use my mind to create my reality? If so, is that a skill that we can learn and use to become who we want to be and create the life that we want to experience? Always, in order to change, we have to come to a new understanding of self and the world so that we can embrace the new knowledge and have new experiences. That is what reading this book will do for us. Your past shortfalls can be traced at the root to one major oversight. You haven't committed yourself to living the truth that your thoughts have consequences so great that they create your reality. The fact is that we are all blessed. We all can reap the benefits of our constructive efforts. We don't have to settle for our present reality. We can create a new one whenever we choose to. We have all that ability because, for better or worse, our thoughts do influence our lives. I'm sure you have heard before, but I wonder whether most people really believe this statement on a gut level. If we truly embrace the notion that our thoughts produce tangible effects in our lives, wouldn't we strive to never let one thought slip by that we didn't want to experience? Think about it. If you really knew that this principle were true, would you ever miss a day in intentionally creating your desired destiny? To change your life, change your beliefs about the nature of reality. Then it says, until you break from the way you see the present reality, any change in your life will always be haphazard and transitory. You have to overhaul your thinking about why things happen in order to produce enduring and desired outcomes. To do that, you will need to be open to a new interpretation of what is real and true. Then we come to always matter, never mind, always mind, never matter. Connecting the dots between the outer and the physical world of the observable and the inner mental world of thought has always presented quite a challenge to scientists and philosophers. To many of us, even today, the mind appears to have little or no measurable effects on the world of matter. Although we would probably agree that the world of matter creates consequences affecting our minds. How can our minds possibly produce any physical changes affecting the solid changes in our lives? Mind and matter appear to be separate. That is, unless there is a shift in our understanding about the way physical solid things actually exist. Descartes, the 17th century mathematician and philosopher who developed many concepts that still have great relevance to mathematics and other fields. In retrospective, however, one of his theories ultimately did more harm than good. Descartes was a proponent of the mechanistic model of universe, a view that the universe is controlled by predictable laws. Helping to perpetuate Descartes' beliefs were the experiments and theories of Sir Isaac Newton. The English mathematician and scientist not only solidified the concepts of the universe as a machine, but he produced a set of laws stating that human beings could precisely determine, calculate, and predict the orderly ways in which the physical world would operate. By extension, the work of Descartes and Newton established a mindset that it really operated on mechanistic principles. Then humanity had little influence on outcomes. All of reality was predetermined. Given that outlook, is it any wonder that human beings struggled with the idea that their actions mattered, let alone entertained the notion that their thoughts mattered or that free will played any part in the grand scheme of things? Einstein not just rocking the boat, rocking the universe. About 200 years after Newton, Albert Einstein produced his famous equation E is equal to mc square, demonstrating that energy and matter are so fundamentally interrelated that they are one and the same. Essentially, his work showed that matter and energy are completely interchangeable. This directly contradicted Newton and Descartes and ushered in a new understanding of how universe functions. Quickly, it became clear that dualistic Cartesian Newtonian model was flawed at the most basic level of all, the atomic that makes up atoms, which are building blocks of all things. The most fundamental components of our so-called physical world are both waves and particles. Depending on the mind of the observer, to understand how the world works, we had to look to its tiniest components. Thus, out of these particular experiments, a new field of science was born called quantum physics. Then he said, so the solid ground we stand on, he describes the atoms, subatoms, where he says nothing could be further from truth. As revealed by the quantum model, atoms are mostly empty space, atoms are energy. Think about this. Everything physical in our life is not solid matter, rather, it's all fields of energy or frequency patterns of information. All matter is more no thing that is energy than something that is particles. The new school quantum version of an atom with an electron cloud. The atom is 99.99999% energy and 0.00001% matter. It's just about nothing materially. This is the most realistic model of any atom. It is nothing materially and all things potentially. From matter to energy, particles pull up this thing. This is what makes this subatomic world unique. It possesses not just physical qualities but also energetic qualities. In truth, matter of a subatomic level exists as a momentary phenomena. It's so elusive that it constantly appears and disappears, appearing into three dimensions and disappearing into nothing. Into the quantum field is so no space, no time, transforming into particle that matter to wave, energy, and vice versa. But where do particles go when they vanish into the thin air? The electron exists as a wave of probability in one moment, and then in the next moment appears as a solid particle, then disappears into nothing, and then reappears at another location. What quantum physicists discovered was that the person observing or measuring the tiny particles that make up the atoms affects the behavior of the energy and matter. Quantum experiments demonstrated that electrons exist simultaneously in an infinite array of possibilities or probabilities in an invisible field of energy, but only when an observer focuses attention on any location of any one electron does that electron appear. In other words, a particle cannot manifest in reality, that is, ordinary space time as we know it, until we observe it. Are you beginning to see why this chapter is titled Quantum View? At the subatomic level, energy responds to your mindful attention and becomes matter. I will repeat this again. At the subatomic level, energy responds to your mindful attention and becomes matter. How would your life change if you learned to direct the observer effect and to collapse infinite waves of probability into reality that you choose? Could you get better at observing the life you want? Then he says, so ponder this. Everything in the physical universe is made up of subatomic particles such as electrons. By their very nature, these particles, when they exist as pure potential, are in their wave state while they are not being observed. They are potentially everything and nothing until they are observed. They exist everywhere and nowhere until they are observed. Thus, everything in our physical reality exists as pure potential. If subatomic particles can exist in an infinite number of possible places simultaneously, we are potentially capable of collapsing into existence an infinite number of possible realities. In other words, if you can imagine a future event in your life based on any one of your personal desires that really already exists as a possibility in the quantum field, waiting to be observed by you. If your mind can influence the appearance of an electron, then theoretically it can influence the appearance of any possibility. This means that quantum field contains a reality in which you are healthy and happy and possess all of the qualities and capabilities of an idealized self that you hold in your thoughts. Stay with me and you will see that with willful attention, sincere application of new knowledge, and repeated daily efforts, you can use your mind as the observer to collapse quantum particles and organize a vast number of subatomic waves of probability into desired physical event called the experience in your life. Then he explains in the quantum model, the physical universe is an immaterial, interconnected, unified field of information, potentially everything but physically nothing. Quantum universe is just waiting for a conscious observer to come along and influence the energy in the form of potential matter by using the mind and consciousness to make waves of energetic probabilities coalesce with physical matter. Just as the wave of possibility of electron manifests as a particle within a specific momentary event, we observe cause a particle of groups. Weird signs, we can affect the past. Since we are all interconnected across distance and time, does this suggest that our thoughts and feelings can influence events of our past as well as those we desire in our future? Then this is a very interesting part of the whole lesson, whole chapter. In July 20, Israeli doctor Leonard Lewin conducted a double-blinded randomized controlled trial involving 3,393 hospital patients divided into a control group and an intersection group. He set out to see whether prayer could have an effect on their conditions. Prayer experiments are great examples of mind affecting the matter at a distance. But stay with me here because everything is not always what it seems. It's a powerful demonstration of benefits of prayer and how we can send an intention out into the quantum field through our thoughts and feelings. However, there is one additional element to this story that you should know. Did it strike you as slightly odd that in July 2000, a hospital would have more than 3,000 cases of infection at once? Was it very poorly sterilized or some kind of contagion running rampant? Actually, those who were praying weren't praying for patients who were infected in 2000. Instead, unbeknownst to them, they were praying for a list of people who had been in the hospital from 1990 to 1996. The prayed for patients actually got better during 90s from the experiment conducted years later. Let me say this another way. The patients who were prayed for in 2000 also showed measurable changes in health, but those changes took effect years before. Our state of being or state of mind, when mind and body are one. So here he says that I will refer interchangeably to your having and creating the state of being or state of mind. Then he says thoughts plus feelings produce test tube results. And he says we communicate with the quantum field primarily through our thoughts and feelings. Since our thoughts are themselves energy, as you know, the electrical impulses the brain generates can easily be measured by devices such as EEG. They are one of the primary means by which we send out signals in the field. There was a study by Heart Math Research Center in California. The folks there have conducted extraordinary research into the physiology of emotions, heart-brain interaction, and much more. Essentially, there are others have documented a specific link between our emotional states and our heart rhythms. When we have negative emotions such as anger and fear, our heart rhythms become erratic and disorganized. In contrast, positive emotions like love, joy, for instance, produce highly ordered, coherent patterns. The heart math research referred to it as heart coherence. The positive emotional state that the first group entered did nothing by itself to the DNA. Another group clear, clearly held intentional thoughts unaccompanied by emotion also had no impact. Only when subjects held both heightened emotions and clear objectives in alignment were they able to produce intended effect. What the heart math experiment demonstrates is that the quantum field doesn't respond simply to our wishes, our emotional requests. It doesn't just respond to our aims, our thoughts. It only responds when those two are aligned or coherent. That is, when they are broadcasting the same signal. When we combine an elevated emotion with an open heart and a conscious intention with a clear thought, we signal the field to respond in amazing ways. The quantum field responds not to what we want, it responds to who we are being. Thoughts and feelings broadcasting our electromagnetic signals to quantum field. I find it a useful model to think of thought as the electrical charge in the quantum field and feelings as magnetic charge in the field. The thoughts we think send an electrical signal out into the field. The feelings we generate magnetically draw events back to us. Together, how we think and how we feel produces a state of being which generates an electromagnetic signature that influences every atom in our world. This should prompt us to ask, what am I broadcasting, consciously or unconsciously, on a daily basis? All potential experiences exist in the quantum field as a sea of infinite possibilities. When you change your electromagnetic signature to match one that already exists in the field, your body will be drawn to that event. You will move into a new line of time or event, or the event will find you in your new reality. To experience change, observe a new outcome with a new mind. Quite simply, our routine, known thoughts and feelings perpetuate the same thing, same state of thing, which creates the same behavior and creates the same reality. So, if we want to change some aspect of our reality, we have to think, feel, and act in a new ways. We have to be different in terms of our responses to experiences. We have to become someone else. We have to create a new state of mind. We need to observe a new outcome with that new mind. I know it's frustrating when life seems to produce an endless succession of minor variations on the same negative outcomes. But as long as you stay the same person, as long as your electromagnetic signature remains the same, you can't expect a new outcome. To change your life is to change your energy. To make an elemental change is your mind and emotion. If you want a new outcome, you will have to break the habit of being yourself and reinvent a new self. Change requires coherence, align your thoughts and feelings. When waves are in play phase and rhythmic, they are more powerful than when they are out of phase. Just as the waves in a signal are much more powerful when they are coherent, the same is true of when your thoughts and your feelings are aligned. When you hold clear, focused thoughts about your purpose, accompanied by your passionate emotional engagement, you broadcast a stronger electromagnetic signal that pulls you towards potential reality and matches what you want. If your intentions and desires haven't produced consistent results, you have probably been sending an incoherent, mixed message into the field. You may want wealth, you may think wealthy thoughts, but if you feel poor, you aren't going to attract financial abundance to yourself. Why not? Because thoughts are language of the brain and feelings are the language of the body. You are thinking one way and feeling another way. And when the mind is in opposition to the body or vice versa, the field won't respond in any consistent way. Instead, when mind and body are working together, when our thoughts and feelings are aligned, when we are in a new state of being, then we are sending a coherent signal of the airwaves of invisible. Why quantum outcomes should come as a surprise. Now let's fill in another piece of puzzle. To change our reality, those outcomes that we attract to ourselves have to surprise. We have to change our internal environment, the way you think and feel, and then you see how the external environment is altered by your efforts. Strive to create an unknown new future experience. Then, when an unforeseen event occurs in your favor, you'll presently be surprised. You just became a quantum creator. You just went from cause and effect to causing an effect. This is very interesting. From cause and effect to causing an effect. Hold a clear intention of what you want, but leave the how details to the unpredictable quantum field. Let it orchestrate an event in your life in a way that is just right for you. If you're going to expect anything, expect the unexpected. Surrender, trust, and let go of how a desired event will unfold. This is the biggest hurdle for most of to overcome because we human beings always want to control a future reality by trying to recreate how it occurred in a past reality. Quantum creating, giving thanks before receiving an outcome. I've just talked about aligning our thoughts and feelings to produce the result we want. Yet in the process, letting go of details surrounding how that event will come about. That's a leap of faith, and it is necessary if we are to exchange a life of humdrum, predictable outcomes for a joyful life of experiences and quantum surprises. But we all need to make yet another leap of faith to bring what we want in reality. You may say, I'm grateful for my family, the nice home I have, my friends, and my job. What those things have in common is that they are already in your life. The new model of reality changes us as quantum creators to change something within us, in mind and body, in our thoughts and feelings, before we can experience the physical evidence. Can you give thanks and feel the elevated emotions associated with the desired event before it occurs? Can you imagine that reality so completely that you begin to be in that future right now? In terms of quantum creating, can you give thanks for something that exists as a potential in the quantum field but has not yet happened in your reality? If so, you are moving from cause and effect that is waiting for something outside of you to make a change inside of you to causing an effect that changing something inside of you to produce the effect outside of you. When you are in a state of gratitude, you transmit a signal into the field that an event has already occurred. Gratitude is more than an intellectual thought process. You have to feel as though whatever an intellectual thought process, you have to feel as though whatever you want is in reality at that very moment. Thus, your body, which only understands feelings, must be convinced that it has the emotional quotient of the future experiences happening to you now. Universal influence and quantum field. Think of the preceding conversation as a kind of template on how this influence has constructed reality. The quantum field is invisible potential energy that is able to organize itself from energy to subatomic particles to atoms to molecules and on up the line to everything. From physiological perspective, it organizes molecules into cells, into tissues, into organs, into systems, and finally into body as a whole. It is the universal intelligence that gives life to the field and everything in it, including you and me. This power is the same universal mind that animates every aspect of the material universe. This influence keeps our hearts beating and our stomachs digesting food and oversees an incalculable number of chemical reactions per second that take place in every cell. Moreover, the same consciousness prompts trees to grow fruit and causes distant galaxies to form and collapse. Because it exists in all places and times and exerts its power within us and all around us, this influence is both personal and universal. Understand that this universal influence possesses the same awareness that makes us individuals consciousness or mindfulness. We have talked about two aspects of consciousness, the objective consciousness or influence of the field, and the subjective consciousness that is the free will, self aware individual. When we emulate the properties of this awareness, we are becoming creators. When we feel resonance with this loving influence, we become like it. This influence will orchestrate an event, an energetic response to match whatever the subjective mind puts out into the quantum field. When our will match its will, when our minds match its mind, when our love of our life matches its love for life, we are enacting this universal consciousness. We become the elevated power that transcends the past, heals the present, and opens the doors of the future. We get back what we send out. Here's how this orchestration events work out on our lives. If we have experienced suffering and within our minds and bodies we hold that suffering and express it through our thoughts and feelings, we broadcast that energetic signature into field. The universe influence responds by sending into our lives another event that will produce the same intellectual and emotional response. Our thoughts send out signals, that is, I am suffering, and our emotions, I am suffering, draw into our lives an event to match that emotional frequency. The question at the heart of this book is, why don't we send out signals that will produce a positive outcome for us? How can we change so that the signal we send out matches what we intend to produce in our lives? We will change when we fully commit to believe that by choosing the thought or signal we send out, we will produce an effect that is observable and unexpected. Based on your new understanding and the nature of reality, do you now see that those statements reflect your acceptance of the Newtonian Cartesian model in which you are victim of cause and effect? Do you see that you are fully capable of causing an effect yourself? Do you see that instead of responding in the manner above, you could be asking yourself, how can I think, feel, and behave differently to produce the effect result that I want? Our mission then is to willfully move into the state of consciousness that allows us to connect to the universal influence, make direct contact with the field of possibilities, and send out a clear signal that we truly expect to change and to see the results that we want in the form of feedback produced in our lives. Ask for quantum feedback. When you do create a purposefully request a sign for a quantum consciousness that you have made contact with, dare to ask for synchronicities related to a specific desired outcome. When you do, you are being bold enough to want to know that this consciousness is real and that it is aware of your efforts. Once you accept this, then you can create a state of joy and inspiration. So, when feedback begins to occur in your life, you can choose to be like a scientist in a process of discovery. Why not monitor any changes to see the universe is favorable to your efforts and prove to yourself that you are the powerful? So, how can we connect with the state of consciousness? Quantum physics is nonsense. Newtonian physics postulated that there is always a linear series of interactions that are predictable and relatable. One reason why quantum physics is so elusive is that for years we have been accustomed to thinking based on our senses. If we measure and reaffirm reality with our senses, we are stuck in the Newtonian paradigm. The quantum is multidimensional reality that exists beyond our senses, in a realm where there is no body, no thing, no time. Thus, to move into that domain and create from that paradigm, you will need to forget about your body for a little while. You will also have to temporarily shift your awareness away from your external environment, all those things that you identify with in your life, your spouse, your kids, your possessions, and your problems, and are all parts of your identity. Through them, you identify with the outer world. And finally, you will have to lose track of the linear time. That is, in the moment when you are intentionally observing a potential future experience, you will have to be so present that your mind no longer vacillates between memories of the past and the expectations of the same as the usual future. Your brain has an innate ability to harness this skill. When you understand that you are fully equipped to do all this, leave this world behind and enter a new reality beyond space and time, you will be naturally inspired to apply it in your life. Going beyond space and time. Since the quantum field is nothing but immaterial probability, it is outside of space and time. As soon as we observe one of those infinite possibilities and give it material reality, it acquires more to characteristics. To enter the field, enter a similar state. Great. We have the power to make material a reality of our own choosing by selecting it from the quantum field. But we have to somehow access that field. We are always connected to it, but how do we get to the field to respond to us? If we are constantly emitting energy and therefore sending information to the field, receiving information from it, how do we communicate more effectively with it? Change your mind, change your life. As this chapter has progressed, I have led you from the notion that mind and matter are fully separable to the quantum model, which states that they are inseparable. Mind is a matter and matter is a mind. If I
Excuse
didn't have to so
excuse me,
many
Mr.
other commitments, I could lose the excess weight and then I would be happy. We have all
Excuse,
stated some variation in that theme. If this, then that, cause and effect.